Australians.
Senator Patterson.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Home Affairs, Senator Watt. How many of the almost 3,000 Palestinians granted a visa by the Albanese Labor government who have arrived in Australia since the 7th of October have had their visa cancelled on character grounds?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Patterson, for the question. As I have previously indicated, we know that the opposition has been determined to make this issue a highly political one, and we know.
Order.
Sorry, Senator Cash, I'm answering
Senator
the question.
Cash.
We know
Senator
that,
Cash.
we know that the motivation of the opposition is to make this a political contest. We also know that the background checks that were undertaken before the granting of any of these visas were exactly the same processes as what occurred under the coalition. That is a factor that they seek to ignore every time they seek to make this into a political issue. I will search for the figures to answer the specific question. I'm sure they're here somewhere in my brief, but obviously not being the minister responsible, they're not top of mind for me. But our focus in managing these visa applications, as is the case for all issues surrounding the current conflict in the Middle East, is to ensure that we maintain social cohesion at all steps of the way. Again, that is something that the opposition has had no interest in, as they have sought to make this a political issue at every step of the way, most recently in relation to these Palestinian visas.
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Patterson.
Point of order on direct relevance. Perhaps the minister now has the answer, but this is a straight question. There was no preamble. It's a question for factual information. If the minister doesn't know, he should take it on notice.
Thank you, Senator Patterson. The minister indicated he thought he did have the figures. Let's see if he has them at the moment. But otherwise, as you've suggested, I'm assuming the minister will seek to take that on notice. Minister Watt.
What I can tell Senator Patterson is that the government's position is that if a person supports an extremist ideology, their visa will be rejected or cancelled, and that is something that Mr Burgess, the Director-General of ASIO, has made clear as well. We have seen, well, it's rather unfortunate that members of the opposition have consistently sought to misrepresent the words of the Director-General of ASIO. They have completely ignored his request of politicians to mind their language around these issues to not inflame situations. The opposition continues to ignore it.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Patterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. I'll try my luck on a separate question, but given the minister wasn't able to answer the primary question, I have my doubts. How many Palestinian document holders who have had their visa cancelled have been deported from Australia?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Well, again, what I can tell Senator Patterson, and I can repeat the comments that Mr Burgess has made, is that anyone who fails character tests and fails the security vetting by ASIO doesn't get a visa in the first place, and should further information come to light, their visas are cancelled. Now, as I say, we have seen repeatedly the opposition try to make this issue into a political football and break down social cohesion. Mr Burgess, the Director-General of ASIO, has appealed to members of parliament to take a responsible attitude towards this, but the opposition continues to ignore that advice from Mr Burgess.
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Senator Patterson.
I just want to give the minister an opportunity to read the brief. He's been passed and perhaps he has the answer.
Senator Patterson, you've asked your question. I assumed you had a point of order. It is not an opportunity to get up and make a statement. Minister Watt.
It's pretty easy to be a smart aleck in this place, and Senator Patterson is doing his best to impersonate me. I know a lot about being a smart aleck in this place, and Senator Patterson, you're a pale imitation. But the bottom line is that this government takes the security of our citizens seriously, and that involves this.
Senator Patterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Last month, the Minister for Home Affairs said, and I quote, "Certainly no country in the world would send people back to Gaza at the moment." Minister, can you confirm that Palestinian document holders in Australia who have their visas cancelled will remain in Australia instead of being deported?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Watt.
Well, I'm not going to participate in the latest attempt of the opposition to try to whip up political fear and fear in the community around this issue. We know that the opposition, and Senator Patterson is one of the worst offenders at this, they are determined to whip up fear in the Australian community. And they have no regard whatsoever for social cohesion in this country. I'm not going to participate in that, and I'm not going to fuel it by participating in these kind of games from the opposition, when we have said, Mr Burgess at ASIO has said, that the Australian community's safety will be the most central issue that we consider when considering all of these matters. As we have said, and as Mr Burgess has said, if a person supports an extremist ideology, their visa will be rejected or cancelled. Anyone who espouses violent extremist ideology while in Australia will have their visa cancelled by the minister. Our government will also use character grounds to cancel the visa of anyone we believe is a threat to our country, and that's the way that it should be.